Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us.
It's great to be here.
Today we're looking at a book that's making some waves called Simpocalypse Now. And from what I understand, it's really diving into this whole issue of like what's going on with men in modern society.
Yeah, you got it. It's a pretty fascinating take on how masculinity is being impacted by all these societal shifts. Like everything's changing so fast. And this book kind of tries to make sense of it all from a particular perspective, let's just say.
Right, so it's definitely coming from a certain angle. But even if you don't agree with everything it says, I think it's worth grappling with the ideas because it's making people think and talk, which is always a good thing, right?
Absolutely. It's sparking debate, and that's how we learn and grow.
Exactly. So let's jump in. One of the first things that really struck me about this book is this concept of simping. Now, I know that's a term that gets thrown around a lot online, but the book gives it a very specific definition.
Yeah, they're not just using it as like a casual insult or anything. It's more about this idea of men prioritizing women's needs above their own to an excessive degree. Like they're constantly seeking validation and approval, even if it means sacrificing their own well-being.
Right. And it's not just about being nice to women or wanting to make them happy. It's more about this underlying sense of like needing their approval to feel good about yourself.
Exactly. Like your worth is somehow tied to how much women like you.
And the book argues that this isn't just some random personality quirk. It's actually a product of how men are conditioned by society.
Yeah, like it's ingrained in us from a young age through the media, through education, even through how our parents raise us.
So it's like we're taught to be these nice guys who always put women first and never rock the boat.
Right, and the book argues that this can actually be harmful to men in the long run.
Because it can lead to a lack of boundaries and self-respect.
Exactly. Like you end up constantly seeking validation from women, and you never really develop a strong sense of who you are or what you want.
And the book links this back to a fear of rejection. Like we're so terrified of being rejected by women that we'll do anything to avoid it.
Yeah, and that can manifest in all sorts of ways, like constantly showering women with gifts or attention, even when it's not reciprocated, or never expressing your own opinions for fear of disagreeing with them.
It's almost like we're walking on eggshells all the time.
Exactly. And the book argues that this fear of rejection is rooted in a lack of self-esteem.
Because if your whole sense of self-worth is tied to whether or not women approve of you, then rejection becomes this devastating blow.
Right. It's like your whole world comes crashing down.
And this ties into the book's broader critique of feminism. Now, before anyone gets too triggered, let me just say that we're not here to endorse or condemn any particular ideology. We're just trying to understand the book's perspective.
Exactly. We're just laying out the arguments as they're presented.
So the book argues that while feminism may have started with good intentions, it's created a kind of imbalance that often ends up disadvantaging men.
Yeah, like the pendulum has swung too far in the other direction.
So it's not about saying that women haven't faced real challenges or that there haven't been legitimate injustices that needed to be addressed.
Of course not. But the book's point is that in trying to correct those injustices, we may have inadvertently created new ones.
And it goes into quite a bit of detail about how this plays out in different areas of life.
Yeah, like it talks about the decline of traditional male roles.
Like the whole provider-protector thing.
Right, and how that's left a lot of men feeling lost and without a clear sense of purpose.
It's like those roles used to give men a sense of identity, and now they're being told that those roles are outdated or even harmful.
And the book argues that this has created a crisis of masculinity.
It's like men don't know who they're supposed to be anymore.
And it also dives into how feminist policies may have had some unintended consequences for men.
Like in the workplace or the legal system.
Yeah, like it critiques things like gender quotas in hiring.
Where companies are pressured to hire a certain percentage of women, even if there are more qualified male candidates.
And it also raises concerns about certain domestic violence laws.
Where men may be presumed guilty, even if there's no evidence.
Now, again, we're not saying that these issues don't exist for women, too.
Of course not.
Yeah.
But the book is trying to highlight the ways in which men might be uniquely disadvantaged in these situations.
And it also doesn't shy away from discussing the portrayal of men in the media.
Which it argues is often incredibly negative and stereotypical.
Yeah, like men are always portrayed as bumbling idiots or violent aggressors.
And it suggests that this contributes to a culture where men are constantly being demonized.
And that this can have a real impact on how men see themselves and how they're treated by society.
It's definitely making me think about all the messages we're bombarded with on a daily basis and how they might be shaping our perceptions without us even realizing it.
Right, and that's one of the book's main points. It's not just about complaining about how men are being treated. It's about encouraging us to be more aware of the forces that are shaping our culture and our own beliefs.
This leads us to what is probably the most controversial element of the book. Its discussion of cultural Marxism.
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting.
So before we dive in, I just want to reiterate that we're not here to endorse or condemn any particular ideology. We're simply trying to understand the book's perspective and present it in a fair and balanced way.
Exactly. So with that said, the book's central argument is that cultural Marxism has subtly infiltrated various institutions and is shaping societal attitudes and policies in a way that is detrimental to men.
So how does the book define cultural Marxism in this context?
Well, it uses it to describe this ideology that promotes a worldview where power dynamics are seen as inherently oppressive. And since men have traditionally held more power in society, they're seen as the oppressors and women as the oppressed.
So it's not just about feminism itself, but about a broader ideological shift that the book sees as having permeated our institutions.
Exactly. And the book argues that this has led to a demonization of masculinity and traditional values.
Like how history is often taught in a way that focuses on the oppression of women while downplaying the achievements of men.
Right. Or how the concept of toxic masculinity is used to paint all forms of traditional masculinity as harmful without acknowledging the positive aspects.
And the book argues that this has shaped policy in all sorts of ways.
Like affirmative action programs, which it argues discriminate against men.
And laws like the Violence Against Women Act, which it suggests can be biased against men.
So it's basically saying that this cultural Marxist ideology is creating a society where men are increasingly disadvantaged and marginalized.
It's a lot to take in, and I'm sure some people are going to disagree with this whole line of argument.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely a controversial topic,
Yeah.
but that's why we're talking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We want to get people thinking and having these difficult conversations. Because whether you agree with it or not, this book is raising some important questions about the state of masculinity in the modern world.
And that's a conversation that needs to be had. So before we move on, I'm curious, what are your initial thoughts on this concept of cultural Marxism? Does it resonate with you, or do you see things differently?
Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Let us know in the comments.
And we'll be back in part 2 to explore the book's proposed solutions to all these challenges. So stay tuned.
It's definitely a complex issue, and I'm sure it's got people thinking and maybe even a little heated in those comments. So let's shift gears a bit now and look at what Simpocalypse Now offers as solution, because it's not all doom and gloom, you know?
Yeah, the book definitely doesn't just leave us hanging with all these problems.
Yeah.
It actually lays out a pretty detailed roadmap for how men can navigate these challenges and reclaim a sense of purpose and masculinity.
Right, and one of the core pillars of this roadmap is the importance of fatherhood.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Why does the book place so much emphasis on fatherhood?
Well, it argues that being a father is fundamental to a man's identity. Like, it provides a sense of purpose responsibility, meaning that's often lacking in today's world. You know, for generations, men were the protectors, the providers, the leaders, and fatherhood was at the heart of all that.
It's like that traditional role of being a father gave men a clear sense of direction and purpose.
Yeah.
And now, with those roles being challenged or even eroded, some men are feeling lost and adrift.
Exactly. And the book suggests that this fatherlessness is actually a major contributing factor to a lot of societal problems. Like, boys who grow up without fathers are more likely to struggle in school, get into trouble with the law, have relationship issues, you name it.
It's like that father figure provides a crucial foundation for a young man's development. And it's not just about financial support either. It's about having a positive male role model who can teach them about life, about being a man, about how to navigate the world.
Right. It's about having someone who can guide them and mentor them and show them what it means to be a good man, a strong man, a responsible man.
And the book even argues that fathers provide a unique type of guidance that mothers simply can't replicate.
Like, it's about that specific dynamic between a father and a son, that push and challenge that helps boys develop into strong and capable men.
It's interesting because the book also talks about how the lack of strong father figures can make men more susceptible to that simping behavior we talked about earlier.
Right. Like, if you haven't had a positive male role model to show you how to be confident and assertive, then you're more likely to seek validation from women because you haven't internalized that sense of self-worth.
It's like you're trying to fill a void that's been left by the absence of a strong father figure.
Exactly. And this ties into the book's emphasis on the importance of traditional male roles in society.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What does the book mean by traditional male roles?
Well, it's talking about those roles that have historically been associated with men, like being a provider, a protector, a leader.
And the book argues that these roles are being eroded in modern society.
Right, like men are being told that these roles are outdated or even toxic.
And that they need to be more sensitive, more nurturing, more in touch with their feminine side.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing in itself.
Of course not. But the book's point is that this push to redefine masculinity has gone too far. And that in trying to eliminate the negative aspects of traditional masculinity, we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater.
Exactly. And it argues that this has created a crisis of identity for men. Like, they don't know who they're supposed to be anymore.
It's like society telling them that being a man is a bad thing.
And this ties back to the book's critique of feminism and what it sees as a push for female empowerment that has come at the expense of men.
So the book is arguing that while feminism may have started with noble goals, it's ultimately created an imbalance that has left men feeling disempowered and marginalized.
Right, and it points to things like affirmative action programs that prioritize women over men, or laws that it claims favor women in divorce and child custody cases.
And it argues that these policies, while well-intentioned, may have actually made things worse for men.
Now again, I want to emphasize that we're not taking sides here. We're simply presenting the book's perspective.
Exactly. These are complex issues with no easy answers.
But the book's point is that we need to be having these conversations.
Yeah.
We need to be acknowledging the ways in which men might be struggling in today's society. And we need to be looking for solutions that benefit both men and women.
It's not about men versus women. It's about men and women working together to create a more just and equitable society.
Exactly. And Simpocalypse Now offers some concrete steps that men can take to reclaim their masculinity and navigate these challenges. But we'll dive into those in the next part of our deep dive.
Make sure you stick around for that. So we've talked about the problems, the critiques, the challenges that Simpocalypse Now lays out. But what about solutions? What does the book actually suggest men do to navigate this so-called Simpocalypse?
Well, it's interesting because the book doesn't just dwell on the negative. It actually offers a pretty comprehensive set of solutions, a whole roadmap for men to reclaim their masculinity and thrive in the modern world.
Okay, so let's dive into that roadmap. What are some of the key takeaways?
Well, one of the central themes is self-reliance. You know, this idea of taking ownership of your life, not waiting for someone else to give you permission or validation.
So it's about becoming more independent, more capable of taking care of yourself.
Exactly. And the book encourages men to stop seeking external validation, particularly from women, and instead focus on building themselves up both internally and externally.
So what does that look like in practice? What are some of the concrete steps men can take?
Well, for starters, it emphasizes financial independence, like really taking control of your finances, learning about investing in wealth building, and avoiding becoming financially dependent on others.
So it's about becoming financially secure, so you're not relying on anyone else for your well-being.
Right, and it even goes beyond just finances. Like, the book suggests learning practical skills like home repair, car maintenance, things like that.
It's like becoming more self-sufficient,
Yeah.
more handy around the house.
Exactly. It's about developing that sense of competence and capability.
And I imagine this ties into the whole idea of being a provider, being able to take care of yourself and those you care about.
Absolutely. And the book also emphasizes the importance of mental and emotional resilience. You know, developing the ability to handle stress and overcome setbacks without falling apart.
So it's about building that inner strength, that mental toughness.
Right, because life is going to throw you curveballs. And the book argues that men need to be equipped to handle those challenges without becoming defeated or demoralized.
And what about physical fitness? Does the book address that as well?
Oh, absolutely. It stresses the importance of physical fitness,
Yeah.
arguing that a strong body is a foundation for a strong mind and a key component of masculinity.
It's like that old saying, mens sana in corpore sano, a healthy mind and a healthy body.
Exactly. And it makes sense, right? If you're physically fit, you're going to feel better about yourself, you're going to have more energy, you're going to be more confident.
So it's like all these things work together. Financial independence, practical skills, mental toughness, physical strength. It's a holistic approach to becoming a more well-rounded and capable man.
Right. It's about developing all facets of yourself, not just focusing on one area.
And while the book emphasizes self-reliance, it doesn't advocate for isolation. Does it so recognize the importance of social connections?
Oh, absolutely. It definitely highlights the importance of strong social bonds, but with a focus on building relationships based on mutual respect and shared values, not neediness or seeking approval.
So it's about finding your tribe, so to speak, those guys who understand what you're going through and can support you on your journey.
Exactly. It's about having the strong male friendships where you can be yourself, where you can challenge each other, where you can grow together.
Now, the book also encourages men to become more politically active, doesn't it?
It does. It argues that men need to start challenging policies and social norms they perceive as unfair and fight for a more equitable society.
So it's about speaking up, making your voice heard.
Right, like advocating for shared parenting in divorce cases, pushing back against biases in domestic violence laws, challenging gender quotas in hiring. It's about getting involved and making a difference.
It's about taking ownership of the world around you, not just passively accepting things as they are.
Exactly. And the book also encourages men to become more media savvy, to recognize and challenge the often negative portrayal of men in mainstream media.
So it's about being critical consumers of information.
Right, like understanding that not everything you see on TV or read online is an accurate reflection of reality, and seeking out alternative perspectives.
So it's about taking control of your own narrative, not letting the media define who you are or what it means to be a man.
Exactly. Now, I know some people might hear all of this and think it sounds like a call to retreat from society or engage in some kind of battle of the sexes.
But that's not what the book is advocating for, is it?
No, not at all. It's actually framing this call to action as a way for men to reclaim their agency, to step up and take control of their lives, and to create a world that's more just and fulfilling for both men and women.
It's not about tearing women down. It's about men building themselves up and finding their place in a world that often seems to be pushing them aside.
Exactly. And the book argues that by embracing traditional masculine values, by becoming more self-reliant, by building strong bonds with other men, and by actively engaging in shaping the world around them, men can become better fathers, husbands, leaders, and members of their communities.
It's a powerful message. And I think it's one that a lot of men are resonating with.
I think so too. And whether you agree with everything in Simpocalypse Now or not, it's definitely a book that's sparking important conversations about masculinity and its role in the modern world.
Absolutely. So if you're intrigued by what you've heard today, I highly encourage you to check out the book for yourself. You can find it on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books.
It's definitely worth a read. And even if you don't agree with everything it says, it will definitely make you think.
And that's what we're all about here at The Deep Dive, getting people to think critically and engage in meaningful conversation.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Simpocalypse Now. We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing the boundaries of your own understanding.